This lesson is on type 1, 2, and 3 sentences, and this is part 1 of a 4-part series on diagramming sentences. First, a quick review. This lesson assumes that you are familiar with parts of speech and sentence elements such as nouns, pronouns, subjects and objects, verbs and predicates, adjectives, adverbs and modifiers, conjoiners, and prepositional phrases. So if any of these terms are unfamiliar to you, please go back and review these lessons either in the Moodle or on YouTube to make sure that you understand these things. Otherwise, these lessons are going to be very frustrating for you and they're going to go very, very quickly. All right, so this is how you diagram a type 1 sentence. We've got a subject, we have a predicate, which is always going to be a form of the verb to be. We have a preposition, and then the object of the preposition. And sometimes there will be modifiers for the object of the preposition, and we'll take a look at those as we go here. All right, so here's our first example type 1 sentence. And I find it very helpful to go through and diagnose part of speech and sentence elements before I try to diagram. And I'm going to go very quickly through these. Remember, articles are adjectives and therefore modifiers. Prepositional phrase here. And so once I've diagnosed part of speech, I can go through and diagnose sentence elements. And now that I've diagnosed part of speech and sentence elements, I can set up my diagram. And so I draw a long line for the main part of the sentence and a vertical line that crosses the long line, and I put in my subject and my predicate. And then the prepositional phrase actually modifies were. It says where we were, which is why it goes underneath the predicate. Remember, modifiers always go underneath the things they modify. And the modifies park, so that's why it goes underneath park. All right, next one here. Again, we're going to diagnose part of speech and then sentence elements. And not is an auxiliary verb. And so I have a preposition, and here's the object of the preposition, so here's my prepositional phrase. I have my subject, and then the whole thing here is the complete predicate. And we'll look at what to do with not here in a second. So draw my long line, draw my subject predicate line. You are subject and predicate. Not modifies are, so it goes underneath of it, just like the prepositional phrase does. From Seattle. So that's how we diagram that one. Same thing here. We've got a pronoun. And I tend to use pronouns for subjects when I'm looking at examples here. But you know, this could also be a noun, right? Like Bob is at the library, or John is at the library. So we have a prepositional phrase here, and at modifies library. My subject, my predicate. Okay, draw my long line, vertical line. I am subject and predicate at library. And because the modifies library, it goes underneath here. Good. All right, here's our last example type 1 sentence. And once again, we're going to go through and diagnose part of speech. just trying to go quickly here. I don't think there's a lot of talking that needs to happen. I'm just trying to give you these examples. There we go. So that's how to diagram the type 1 sentences. So let's go through and look at the type 2 sentences now. So the type 2 sentence has a subject, a predicate, and then a predicate adjective. Once again, the predicate's going to be a form of the verb to be, always. Okay, and then we separate the predicate adjective from the predicate with this backward slash here that does not go below the main line of the sentence. And this is going to be some kind of predicate adjective. We can have modifiers under here. We can have modifiers under here, either adverbial modifiers or prepositional phrasal modifiers. We can have modifiers under the subject as well. We're not going to look at those in this video, but I'll start to introduce those in later videos in the series. All right, so very simple one here. Oops. Once again, the verb, always a verb form of the verb to be with these, and then an adjective. So subject, predicate, predicate adjective. I'm going to abbreviate that as PA. So main line of the sentence, subject predicate divider, they are, and then backslash for my predicate adjective, tall. Very simple, right? All right, another one here, pronoun, auxiliary verb, verbs, form of the verb to be, and cruel is an adjective. So subject, complete predicate, and cruel is predicate adjective. Now when I give these to you on any kind of quizzes, they'll be mixed up. It won't be just, here's a type 2 sentence and diagram it. You're going to have to diagnose whether it's a type 1 or type 2 or type 7 or whatever. So be mindful of that as we go through these. There we go. And I tend to put not underneath the predicate slot because I view it as this auxiliary verb as a modifier. You could put it in right here, and I would be okay with either one of those, if we were to do that on a quiz in class. So, a little bit of a judgment call there. If you're watching this and you're not one of my students, just know what your teacher wants and just do it. As long as you understand, that's the big thing, right? We got a form of the verb to be here. Very is an adjective, and sleepy is an adjective. So this is a case where we have an adjective modifying another adjective, right? There we go. So that line doesn't connect to the line below, so keep that in mind. That's just bad drawing on my part. But very modifies sleepy, which is why it's underneath that predicate adjective there. We have a combo subject here. Very good. So we'll see what to do about that here in a second. So we have a subject, we have another subject here, so we have a compound subject, and then we have the predicate, and then the predicate adjective. Right, so when we do these, it's actually a little bit goofy. Oops, let me redraw this. We actually do this to create compounds. Right, so we have you, I, and these are joined together by this. This would be very hard for me to draw. And right, so we have here this, compound subject here, and then we have our predicate, are, and then smart. There we go. So that's how we handle compound subjects. And we'll look at other compounds as we go through this series. All right, finally, type 3 sentences. You notice they look exactly the same on the diagram. The only difference is right here with the predicate noun. Predicate is always going to be a form of the verb to be for a type 3 sentence. What do we got going on here? Because I can see how this is developing, right? I've got my subject, I've got my predicate, I have a modifier, and I have a predicate noun. What's going on here? Last year, last year. These are adverbs. This is actually an adjective. This is a noun, but this is acting like an adverbial phrase because it's telling when she was the president, right? So let's look at how we're going to do this. So we'll drop in our subject and our predicate, and we're going to put in our predicate noun, which is president. And so this is an adverbial phrase because it's telling when she was president. So it actually maps all the way back to was. So that's going to go underneath of our predicate here. Goodness. So this one's kind of goofy, right? Because last year is a time marker, and year modifies, when it happened. Last modifies year. So that's why it's on this slanting line with a little elbow here. Okay, and this one is really tricky. This is, the varsity level stuff. So anytime you have a modifier modifying another modifier, you have this little elbow here. It's amazing that our brains do this too, isn't it? All right, so now we have an actual proper name for a noun. Will is an auxiliary verb. Be is a verb. It's a form of the verb to be. A is an article, leader is a noun, in is a preposition, the is an article, and field is a noun. So what do we got going on here? We got a preposition and a noun, so we've got a prepositional phrase. We have our subject, we have our complete predicate. A leader, A is a modifier that modifies leader. This is our predicate noun. Good. So now let's set up our long line. Jeanette. Will be, I'm going to put as a complete predicate here because be needs will to be a future tense verb. It's not a modifier. It's necessary to that verb in order for it to make sense. And we have leader, and she's going to be a leader. Now what to do with this prepositional phrase? Is it telling when she's going to be a leader or where she's going to be a leader? Right, it's telling where she's going to be a leader, so it's modifying the predicate noun. So it goes over here, in, field, the field. So I was going to figure out what those prepositional phrases are modifying so that you know where to put them in your sentence diagram. This one's a little easier, right? Again, we have a proper noun, a form of the verb to be. We have a possessive pronoun. We have an adjective. And we have a noun. Now what's this possessive pronoun modifying? Well, it's modifying friend. Best is also modifying friend. So these are both modifiers. We have our predicate noun. I know I'm kind of jumping around here. And then we have our predicate. But you've done enough of these. You've seen enough of these now to, follow me as I jump around. So Dwayne is friend. my modifies friend, and best modifies friend. And see here, my is modifying friend. It's not modifying best. So that's not why it's not on that goofy little elbow down here. It's its own modifier. Because I could just say Dwayne is my friend, and it would make sense. I couldn't really say Dwayne is best friend. So we do need my in order for it to make sense. But it is modifying friend. It's not modifying best. So that's why it gets its own line and not a kooky little elbow there. All right, I think this is the last one. All right, so we have here an article. We have an adjective. We have a noun. We have a verb that's a form of the verb to be. We have an article, and then we have a noun. Okay. So modifier, subject, predicate, modifier, and noun. So this is a predicate noun. Let's see, dog is Rottweiler. Diagrams also show you what's the most important part of the sentence. And as you learn to see this, you'll see this will increase your reading comprehension as well as you figure out subjects and predicates and core elements like predicate nouns. You'll have a better sense of what a sentence says. Now these are simple sentences, very easy for you to comprehend, but when you get to longer sentences, particularly in something like Shakespeare or Jonathan Swift, being able to spot subjects and predicate nouns and things like that will help your reading. All right, so what are we going to do with these modifiers? Well, the modifies dog. It doesn't modify friendly, so it gets its own line. Friendly also modifies dog. And then modifies Rottweiler, right? So we can have modifiers for subjects as well. This is the first time we've seen this in this lesson. All right, so that's it. Thanks for watching. And look at the examples and the exercises in a grammar review on the grammar section of the website. And that's it. Thanks for watching.